thank you so much for being willing to come back and return to be grilled by me. So I'm making you the presenter. I don't know if you brought any charts. If not, I'll take over the screen, but looking forward to hearing your voice.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you, my trading warrior brother? How's it going?
Oh, I didn't realize I'd be on camera. My goodness.
You don't have to be, Jake. You could turn your webcam off.
Yeah, that would be interesting how I do it. I've got my Yahoo Serious hair on. Let me go put my hat on.
People are so, you know.
Don't worry. Don't worry about it. I just closed the camera for you since you didn't want it.
No, you can put the camera back on. We're cool with that. I like
okay.
Mercy.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Jake.
Good.
So, Jake,
I sent you webcam request. Now, if you want to reopen it, you can do so.
You bring any charts or anything today, Jake, or you want me to flip around on the charts?
I didn't, but I'm sort of gonna.
That's all right. That's
send
okay.
You, fetching charts so that we can understand how to proceed.
Oh, okay.
So the charts are your charts or my charts, but just we could look at Tesla. We can look at the Palladium. I'm glad you mentioned that. And
I'm going to show my screen here. Okay.
Perfect.
So this is where I want to start, Jake, because to preface it, last time you were on, Jake communicates with me on Twitter, and he talked about this gold share that I never heard about. It's traded on Toronto. I think we're down here, Jake, and the gold was still in a bear phase, and I went, wow, look at how strong it is. Gold still hadn't even bottomed at 1160 yet. So one thing for sure is, it's one thing to know about a whole sector, but to be able to pick out, unless you're running investor relations for this company, this was a phenomenal move, close to a triple, 2.5 times.
Looked at it on one of the clues is on really red days, it acts flat or up to buff. So that's the range.
Red days in gold you're talking about?
In anything, if it's like Tesla, the market was getting trashed, and yesterday it just was explosive to the upside. I didn't read it as correctly. I believe that there's some questionable accounting practices going over on Tesla, having studied Fannie Mae, AMBAC, and others like Valiant and Concordia Health. But getting back to Wesdome, it really did act well on down days, and for that reason, you have to pay attention. And then you look at the volume, and that's a really important distinction. When markets are going down, say a sector, gold, and it's up 2% on the day, own it.
Okay.
Unless there's some material information or unless there's some questionable things going on, it's a sign that it's got just less distribution and it can move forward.
It has sponsorship.
Sponsorship, thank you.
Okay, so something that doesn't have sponsorship that you talked about with me on Twitter today and you think is really behind all of this, which means we have a systemic problem that, ground zero is Europe with Deutsche Bank. We gap lower yesterday, and people could see that the long-term, people have been talking about Deutsche Bank and the problems and the derivatives that they have off the books as being a possible black swan. Is this what you believe is going to be the catalyst for further weakness on global bourses?
Yes, we saw a move on Palladium from 1070 to 1130 on significally.
This is Deutsche Bank.
Yeah, I'm channeling that, and I believe that the metals are going to get a bid here because the derivative the derivative book for Deutsche Bank makes Banco Monte Paschi look trivial. And they were bailed out for 20 billion plus after consecutive losses of 3 to 13 billion euro in a few quarters back. and in 2013, I said Banco Montepaschi was going under with 5 Italian banks. I told someone prominent in Italy this, and they told me to leave the room with expletive being shouted, just because of our algo seeing something. We have a proprietary algo that we're in talks with an actual major firm right now, so I can't get into that. But I am pleased to say that Deutsche Bank at 36 was questionable. At 22 looked like it would be required a bailout. And then when it broke 15, I was saying 11 needs to hold. It broke once, it came back up, and now it's in perilous territory. Okay. I'd like to ask your thoughts on, when you look at a chart like this, what does it say to you?
Well, thanks for interviewing me. I appreciate it, Jake.
Real vision is later. They'll come back to you, Dale, I promise.
All right. Okay. So when I look at a chart like this, I have a hard time wanting to launch new shorts. I'm seeing divergences developing on a lot of time frames. I'd be looking for some type of buying opportunity in here, although we're not confirming. But I'd say you kind of have either an exhaustion or breakaway gap, and I would wait for the gap to be filled, just like I wait for throwovers on a lot of different markets like the dollar. So I think that if the market gets some relief in the dollar, and a lot of people are just, completely bullish the dollar, and I am too. I think we're going to take this high out eventually, but I think we might get some relief where we've been getting some pressure if the Dixie could close back under 96.20, and that might even help Deutsche Bank. I've heard.
Look at the DAX. Look at the DAX overlay with the Deutsche Bank from 11,700 to 11,060 yesterday. I think we sent out a signal to cover any DAX short at 11,150. So if you overlay it, just it's pretty interesting.
I don't know how to do that, but anyway.
Well, there you go. You can feature it and then go back to Deutsche Bank.
Okay, so they both look very similar, is your point? Is that
and I'm looking at a debt. I'm looking at debt. The institutional players are looking at debt in Deutsche Bank, because if it does get bailed out, it gets bailed by Germany, right? They can't let it go under any circumstance.
Okay. All right.
The derivative book, though, is probably 18 times more Banco Montepaschi's minimum, if you look at it.
Is a derivative book, they still have stuff on the books from 2008 when things were really ugly?
I think they're tied in with debt and covenants that have been breached so badly. And people have died over Montepaschi. There's about 6 deaths regarding Montepaschi, the Vatican, and Deutsche Bank. So there's questionable paper that is out there. Now, the question that you have to ask yourself is...
well, I'll tell you one thing, Jake. After talking to you, I'm not applying for a job there.
My friend's one of the head traders there, and I speak to him rarely because he's terrified that I'm going to be right.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, him talking to you every day, and So, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Continual erosion on a bailout? What would happen to the shares trading at $10? Where do you think they'd be for someone to come in? We know in 2008, what they did with not Lehman Brothers, but the bank that was bailed out for, I think, $3 a share. I forgot the name of the firm, but would it be something like that they'd come in? Bear Stearns, right? That they'd come in and say, okay, we'll bail you out, but at $3 a share.
I think it was ultimately $12 a share, but didn't it go to 2 or something?
Yeah.
And then 12. Yeah, it was 29.
That's originally what they offered him, was 2.
2. Yeah, you're right. It was 65 on Wednesday. I sent a note to my friend who is the former CFO of one of the institutions in Canada, Royal Trust, and said, I'm concerned about three companies staying solvent. It was Bear Stearns, Merrill Lynch, and Lehman. And the next day it was $29. He sent me a note. He said, I can never have coffee with you again. My portfolio implodes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to be a genius to know that even when our indexes were making new highs, Jake, the XLF never really got going, even when rates ticked up. But the yield curve, do you think the yield curve is going to invert finally? We've been headed in that direction for a while.
Question, but I would say that one thing that isn't on the radar, it hasn't been talking about, once we had the Turkey issue, not the Khashoggi, but the fact that the lira went 350, just into say 750, I think 740 on that intraday spike. Argentina isn't on the pages, but if you look at the Argentina ETFs and what's been going on there, and the rupee slide, you can really see what's going on worldwide. There's a question in emerging markets of solvency, and then we saw Pakistan requiring a bailout, and that caught everyone up by surprise. So if you keep that in mind,
I don't think they've gone to the IMF in quite some time. I mean, a lot of South American countries, they're kind of like on the 10-year plan. Every 10 years they go to them. But I don't think Pakistan has.
Wow.
Huh?
Brazil is also in some serious, with serious issues on their debt.
The whole continent, Venezuela.
You could put all emerging markets in that basket, and that's tied to the slowdown in China, very, very pronounced slowdown in China, and question regarding geopolitics in Europe and American leadership and whatnot.
Where's the S&P going? Where's the S&P going? Here's a weekly chart, Jake.
It looks like it bounced today. I really feel we could track back a little lower. We could track back a lot lower. Pardon me. But what I'm looking at is the midterms of November 6th, right?
Yeah.
We can't have too much of a more of a down move, or that's going to be a question mark for the GOP. So I think we're going to see a bounce. I wouldn't be surprised to see. I haven't really been following the ES as much as the NASDAQ. I'm watching for leadership.
Okay.
Google
there
at
you
12.35
go.
is a Amazon. Sorry?
So when you and I were changing, predictions, and there were a few jiggles that gave me a little heartburn. This is why I was talking about 5,800 in the NASDAQ 100.
Yeah,
right
you
there,
said
that line. Yeah.
Yeah, you have been on that. You've been very exact. The way that I look at it is Amazon is leadership. Apple, it's coming into that end of year, and it usually does well. You've got Netflix. I don't trust their debt, and I don't trust their business model. I mean, it's been a phenomenal performer, but I stay away from Netflix. And Google has been underperforming on good days. From 1235, which is our algo sell signal across the board, we said just whatever day that was, 1235 Google, I think it popped to 1245, but that day, or 1253, but that day really said across the board, out of NASDAQ, out of tech, out of, and that's really important, that 1235. I don't know where Google is this morning. I think it's around, it was 1057 yesterday.
So you're looking, you're selling rips, it sounds like, from here on out.
Yeah,
how about
I'm not trusting the fabric of the structure of the market, but I know that we can, and this is a nimble trader's market, and if you don't have wide stops or optionality employed, like yesterday at the lows, we went long 71, we went long the ES at, let me just look at what we did. So we went long on the ES, put up the ES, I'll show you where we went long. Thank you. So we're looking at what is ES right now at?
26.75. The low yesterday near the close was 26.51.
Right. So the calls yesterday around 73 to 80 on the 2700s for December. We get a rally above that. It can make about 20%, just to give you the kind of optionality that is being employed.
Okay, so you went in and bought call options, looking for 730
for 2700, but for 73. But if you look at the SPY, which is what we love to play tennis with, as I like to say, Federer style, back and forth with genius. I'm not the genius, the market is. That's the difference. Put up the SPY, and then I'll show you. This is the real chart you want to be watching.
But I'll put it up for you.
Thank you. I call you Eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good animal spirit. I could soar high above the world, man.
Exactly, and it's a Steve Miller, fly like an eagle. So
that's right. Okay, so here's your SPY. Here's your SPY, Jake.
All right, so you know at 265.32 yesterday, 267 calls were flashing on our proprietary IP, and we got up to about 268.12 this morning. So if we get any kind of rip, those will be up roughly 60 to 120%, depending on what you're in.
Okay, if you're not a nimble trader like you and like I used to be when I was younger, what do you tell people to do in this environment? You tell them just to sit on cash?
Be in cash and go to the beach.
That's it, cash? Any bear market funds you like for a hold, or
no? They usually implode and pump liquidity fests, and unless you're with like, Rob Arnott of Research Affiliates or whatnot, and he's have been challenged. The aircraft carrier movements of these bigger players, they don't lend themselves to this algo love community of hit it to quit it machines that will just tear you apart.
Yeah, actually, I talked to someone that was interviewed in Market Wizards. I have him scheduled for an interview, and he said, tape reading's done. It's being run by the machines. He didn't sound happy. And here was a guy who was
like a machine now. Tape reading exists. It's just machine tape reading.
Okay. All right. How about some long-term? You have any long-term view on energy? The energy stocks and crude have been coming down lately. Anything for like an intermediate term hold that you have an eye on? Could it be?
Microsoft can continue to raise debt and is still beating knocking the cover off the ball like the Boston Red Sox, even though I like watching the Dodgers get to there. But if you look at Microsoft, they really have been knocking the cover off the ball. They're going to benefit from AR, VR, and they're improving their search. Google's search is getting less powerful. There's other companies out there. It just look at that drop on Microsoft. If that isn't a bounce or short-term bounce, I don't know what is. They can raise debt until it's $200 a share.
Yeah, the 200 moving comes in a couple bucks from here.
Yeah, so, and you know what? They're performing well and hitting on all cylinders from what I see. On the energy, 70 is above 69 you can buy it, and below 68 you can sell it, but between 68 and 69 I don't like to have anything on except maybe depending on the movement in the CAD actually, then calls or puts in their December strikes.
Okay, so if people wanted to take advantage of your signals, what do you do? What's your business model? You have managed accounts, a hedge fund. What's the best way for people to, take advantage of the algo that you created?
Well, we're building more IP, so we're building more algos as we speak. Fortunately, I'm in talks with a few firms now, so and they're pretty, deep into negotiations. So I expect that we're going to be tying in with the firm, and we won't be available, but there is some retail reach through Just Trading and another site that I'm putting together as well. So that'll come out.
Okay.
I think people should just sign up for ForexAnalytix, for lifetime and benefit from the study and the great rigor that you guys do. And you know what? One thing about this market is when people have egos, they lose. I'll give you an example. If you follow what your previous speaker said regarding the euro at 113, I can't remember exactly what, but around those levels, and if you look at it, and he's right, the Italians want this to work, even though they don't want to say it. And Salvini is a power over there, and we've said this having analyzed it for the last year. If people just follow ForexAnalytix on a daily basis and they charted and learned and put in their spreadsheet what you guys say and what your guests say, the amount of learning for Forex analytics that teaches you is just incredible. So I really appreciate watching these beautiful charts.
You come into F.A.C.E every day?
I see your charts every day. I don't go in just because it might sway my thinking, and I find less is more. I mean, everybody's got the metrics and the charts and every level on Earth. I find that much less is much more. I figure out a thesis, and then I work with that, and then I cut my losses quick if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you could get in. Sometimes I do suffer from information overload. Well, and I just don't want to know anymore. Someone send me a chart. I just, already have narratives and technical things in my head. I don't want any more, information. It's like my head will explode.
Well, here's the interesting thing. That Turkish ETF, I think it's Argent, and AGNT or something. When you look at what's happening in Argentina, that's probably related intricately to the US dollar rise above 95. Right. And 95.61 is really the level. I wouldn't be short until 95.61 on the dollar. That being said, I have a dollar bear thesis. However, that Argentina default that looms within weeks, and if not days, is going to be what is the pressure point on that U.S. dollar going higher.
Okay, what a great interview. So I appreciate your time, Jake, and you're my trading warrior brother. You could follow Jake at Just Trading on Twitter.
We put the G in your pocket, and that's for Genius and Greenbacks.
Okay, buddy. You sound like what's that guy's name on CNBC that talks in acronyms every Friday? Very interesting guy. But I want to thank you so much for your time, Jake. Everyone, you can follow Jake at Just Trading, and here you go. Here's Jake right here.
It's Jake Tiley, and it's Just Trading.
Okay, so you say it Tiley, and
always Tiley.
Okay, and don't forget how Deutsche Bank is going to be a major anchor on this market's neck. So if you want new highs in 2019, you're going to have to look for something constructive to come out of there. So thanks again.
We're headed for more financial, question marks in the next year, but the rips are going to be sold and the dips are going to be bought until otherwise proven.
Okay, so be a trader. But Jake Tiley says be a trader. Don't marry anything, just date.
I'm on Instagram as Jake Trader, and that's a fulfilling prophecy that you've just said.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, Jake. Good hunting.
Let's rock and roll.
All right. See ya, and see everyone in F.A.C.E. To wrap it up, TGIF. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And God, how about that for a testimonial about ForexAnalytix? He said all people have to do is come in here and write down and record what we're saying. You get a lot of great info here. forgot to ask Jake if he is a subscriber. And regardless, join our team. Adios, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks again. Thank you very much again, Jake, and I'll see everyone tomorrow to wrap up the week. I'm ready to wrap it up. Adios.